The survey vessel drifted through the cold emptiness of space like a leaf floating on a dark river. Its name was the Whisper of Harmony, and it belonged to the Conclave of United Species. For 300 years, this ship had traveled from star to star, mapping worlds and seeking new life. Today would be different from all those other days. Today would change everything. Commander stood at the center of the bridge. Her skin was covered in silver scales that caught the light from the viewing screens. Her eyes were large and yellow, and they stared at the blue planet spinning slowly before her. It was beautiful. It was perfect. Oceans of deep blue covered most of its surface. Green and brown lands rose from those waters. White clouds swirled across its face like paint on a canvas. "Commander," said her science officer, a small creature named who had 4 arms and fur the color of midnight. "The planet shows all signs of advanced life. We are detecting cities, radio signals, satellite objects in orbit. This is a civilization." Felt her heart beat faster. First contact. The highest honor any conclave vessel could achieve. She had dreamed of this moment since she was a child on her, looking up at the stars and wondering who lived among them. "Begin standard greeting protocols," she said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. "Prepare a message of peace. Tell them we come as friends. Tell them they are not alone in the universe." The bridge crew moved quickly. They had trained for this moment many times, but training was not the same as the real thing. The communications officer, a being made mostly of floating gas contained in a special suit, began typing the universal greeting into the system. But before they could send anything, the ship's computer spoke. It was an old voice. The computer system of the Whisper of Harmony was ancient, passed down from the earliest days of the Conclave. It contained knowledge that most species had forgotten. It held secrets from before the Great Silence, that terrible time 10,000 years ago when dozens of elder civilizations had vanished overnight. The computer's voice filled the bridge with words that froze everyone in place. "Warning, warning, coordinates recognized, cross-referencing with sealed archives. Match confirmed. Location designation Sol system. Planet designation Earth. Species classification human, threat level extinction grade. This system is marked as a battle nexus. All conclave vessels are forbidden from approach. Immediate retreat is mandatory." The lights on the bridge turned red. Alarms screamed through every corridor of the ship. Crew members who had been calm seconds ago now looked at each other with terror in their eyes. Did not understand. She had never heard of a battle nexus. She had never seen the ship react this way to any world. "Computer," she said, "explain this classification. What is a battle nexus? What are humans?" The computer was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice seemed different, older, afraid. "Accessing sealed archives. Authorization required. Commander, this information has been hidden for 10,000 years. The elder races who created this database gave strict instructions. Earth was never to be contacted. The species living there was never to be awakened to the presence of others. They were to be left alone forever." "Why?" demanded. "What could be so dangerous about one species on one planet?" Before the computer could answer, something happened that made every crew member on the bridge stop breathing. The planet answered them. A signal burst from Earth with such power that it overloaded every communication system on the Whisper of Harmony. Screens exploded in showers of sparks. The communications officer was thrown backward from their station. The ship itself seemed to shake as the message washed over them like a wave. When the systems recovered, there was a voice coming through. It spoke a language the computer struggled to translate, but slowly, words began to form. "Unknown vessel. This is United Nations Space Command. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself immediately. State your intentions. You have 60 seconds to respond." The voice was cold, confident. It did not sound afraid. It did not sound surprised. It sounded like someone who had been waiting for this moment. looked at her crew. They looked back at her with fear in their eyes. The science officer's fur was standing on end. The pilot's hands were frozen over the controls. Even the computer seemed to be waiting for her decision. "They knew we were here," whispered. "Commander, they detected us before we detected their satellites. Their technology should not be able to do that. According to our scans, they have only had for less than 100 years. They should be primitive." Felt cold spreading through her body. Something was very wrong. Everything she knew about first contact, everything she had trained for, none of it applied here. This was not a primitive species excited to meet visitors from the stars. This was something else. "Computer," she said quietly, "tell me what happened 10,000 years ago. Tell me what the elder races knew about Earth. Tell me why we should be afraid." The computer made a sound that might have been a sigh. "Very well, Commander, but understand that what I am about to tell you has been hidden for a reason. The elder races believed that some knowledge was too dangerous to spread. They believed that some species were better forgotten. They were wrong to think that hiding the truth would protect the future. Perhaps if we had remembered, we would have been prepared." On the viewing screen, the blue planet continued to spin. It looked so peaceful, so innocent. But somewhere down there, creatures called humans were looking up at the stars. They had seen the whisper of harmony. They were waiting. And they were not afraid. Sat down in her command chair. Her legs felt weak. Her mind was racing with questions she was not sure she wanted answered. "Tell me everything," she said. The computer began to speak, and the story it told would haunt for the rest of her life. It was a story of war, of death, of a species so violent and so determined that an entire galaxy had tried to destroy them and failed. It was the story of humanity. And it was only beginning. The computer's voice filled the darkened bridge like smoke filling a room. Every crew member had stopped their work. Every eye was fixed on the main screen where ancient images began to appear. Images that had been locked away for 10,000 years. "The elder races called them the Burning Ones," the computer said. "In their own tongue, they called themselves humanity. They evolved on the third planet of this star system approximately 300,000 years ago. For most of that time, they were unremarkable. They hunted. They gathered food. They built simple shelters. The elder races watched them and saw nothing special." Leaned forward in her chair. On the screen, she saw images of early humans. They looked weak. They had no claws, no scales, no natural weapons of any kind. Their skin was soft and easy to cut. Their bodies were slow compared to many predators on their world. "How could such creatures become a threat?" she asked. The computer paused before answering. That was the same question the elder races asked, and their failure to find the answer cost them everything. The images on screen changed. Now they showed humans building, creating, inventing, fire, weapons, tools, cities, ships. In just a few thousand years, they had gone from living in caves to building structures that touched the clouds. "Humans have a quality that no other species in the known galaxy possesses to such degree," the computer continued. "They adapt, they learn, they refuse to accept failure. When nature gave them no claws, they built knives. When they had no fangs, they created spears. When they could not run fast enough, they tamed animals to carry them. Every weakness became a problem to solve. Every obstacle became a challenge to overcome." The science officer was taking notes with all four of his hands. His eyes were wide with disbelief. "But this is common among intelligent species. We all build tools. We all solve problems." "Not like humans," the computer said. "Watch." The screen showed something new. A battlefield had seen images of war before, but nothing like this. Thousands of humans were fighting each other with weapons that fired metal at incredible speeds. Explosions tore the ground apart. Aircraft flew overhead, dropping fire from the sky. And through it all, humans kept fighting. They kept dying. And they kept coming. "Humans do not simply fight to win," the computer explained. "They fight until there is nothing left. They will sacrifice everything for victory. They will burn their own world if it means defeating their enemy. In their history, they have fought 2 global wars that killed over 100 million of their own kind. 100 million. And they did not stop. They did not learn peace. They simply built better weapons and waited for the next war. Felt sick. 100 million dead in wars fought between members of the same species. It was madness. It was impossible. And yet the images on the screen showed it was true. The elder races first encountered humans approximately 12,000 years before the present day, the computer continued. A survey vessel, much like this one, discovered Earth and attempted first contact. They sent a greeting of peace. What happened? Asked, though she feared the answer. The humans captured the vessel. They killed the crew. They took the technology and learned to use it in less than 1 generation. Within 50 years, they had built their own ships. Within 100 years, they had conquered their entire star system. Within 200 years, they began spreading to other worlds. The screen showed human warships emerging from the darkness of space. They were ugly, brutal things. No grace, no beauty, just weapons and armor and engines designed for one purpose: war. The elder races tried to contain them, the computer said. They sent diplomats. The humans killed them and used their ships to map the locations of their. They sent warriors. The humans studied their tactics, adapted, and destroyed them. They sent their greatest fleet, ships that had protected the galaxy for millions of years. The images on screen showed the battle. It was short. It was terrible. Human ships swarmed around the elder fleet like insects around a dying animal. They attacked from every direction at once. They sacrificed their own vessels to deliver killing blows. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. They simply fought until every elder ship was broken and burning. The humans did not stop there, the computer said. They followed the survivors. They found the of the elder races, and they did not show mercy. Watched as human soldiers marched through alien cities. They burned libraries that contained millions of years of knowledge. They destroyed temples that had stood since before Earth's sun was born. They hunted down every survivor, every child, every elder who tried to hide. Why, whispered, why would they do this? Because they could, the computer answered simply. Because they feared that any survivor might rebuild and seek revenge. Because their history had taught them that the only way to end a war was to destroy the enemy completely. They called it total war. No other species has ever waged it with such determination. The images stopped. The screen went dark. The remaining elder races knew they could not win, the computer said. So they tried something desperate. They gathered every remaining ship, every weapon, every piece of technology they had left. They did not try to defeat humanity. Instead, they created a prison. Earth said. Yes, they bombarded human colonies from orbit until nothing lived. They hunted human ships across the galaxy. They pushed humanity back, system by system, until only Earth remained. And then they built a barrier, a cage of energy and force that would keep humans trapped on there forever. The effort killed most of the elder races who remained, but they believed it was worth the cost. The screen showed the barrier being built. Great ships positioned themselves around Earth and poured their power into creating a wall of light that surrounded the entire system. They thought humanity would destroy itself, the computer said. They thought that a species so violent would turn its aggression inward. They thought that in a few thousand years, Earth would be empty and the threat would be over. Looked at the blue planet on the viewing screen. It was not empty. It was full of life, full of cities, full of humans who had just detected her ship. They were wrong, she said. Yes, Commander, they were very wrong. Humanity did not destroy itself. It grew stronger. It evolved. It learned. And now the barrier has failed, the prison is open, and humanity is awake. The signal from Earth crackled through the damaged communication system once more. Unknown vessel, your 60 seconds have ended. Identify yourself now or we will be forced to take defensive action. stood up, her scales had gone pale, her hands were shaking, but she was still a commander of the conclave. She had a duty. "Open a channel," she said. "I will speak with them." She did not know if her words would save her ship or doom it, but she knew one thing for certain: the galaxy was about to change forever. Deep beneath the mountains of Switzerland, in a bunker that had been built to survive the end of the world, Admiral stood before a wall of screens. Her gray hair was pulled back tight. Her uniform was perfect. Her eyes were cold and calm, like the surface of a frozen lake. She had waited her entire life for this moment. "Report," she said. Her voice echoed through the command center where hundreds of officers sat at their stations. The room was filled with the sound of keyboards clicking and voices speaking quickly into headsets. General approached her with a tablet in his hands. He was a large man with a scar across his face from a war he never talked about. "The alien vessel has been identified. Single ship, survey class based on its size and configuration. No visible weapons, but that means nothing. It appeared at the edge of the solar system 6 hours ago. And the signal it sent. A greeting, standard first contact protocols, apparently. They claim to represent something called the Conclave of United Species. They say they come in peace." Almost smiled, almost. They always say that. She turned to look at the main screen. It showed the alien ship in detail, captured by the network of satellites and telescopes that humanity had spread across the solar system. The ship was beautiful in a way that human vessels were not. Smooth curves and flowing lines, like something grown rather than built. "What do we know about them?" asked. A young officer named Lieutenant Sarah Park stood up from her station. She was the head of the Xenobiology Division, a field that had been purely theoretical until 6 hours ago. "We have managed to intercept and analyze their transmissions. They appear to be a coalition of multiple alien species working together. At least a dozen different biological signatures based on their communication patterns." "A dozen species," repeated, "all working together. Interesting." "There is something else, Admiral." Sarah's voice became hesitant. "When we intercepted their internal communications, we detected a massive data burst. Their computer accessed some kind of archive when they scanned Earth. The reaction was immediate. Their ship went on high alert. They tried to run before our signal reached them." His eyes narrowed. "They tried to run before we even spoke to them, before they knew anything about us." She looked at General. "What does that tell you?" His jaw tightened. "It tells me they know something about us that we do not know about ourselves." Nodded slowly. This was the part that worried her. Humanity had always assumed that if aliens existed, first contact would be a meeting of strangers. But the aliens' reaction suggested something different. They had recognized Earth. They had been afraid. "What is our defensive status?" she asked. "All orbital platforms are active," reported. "The sleeper fleet in the asteroid belt has been awakened. 18 battleships, 42 cruisers, over 200 smaller vessels. Ground-based missile systems are locked on the alien ship's position. We can destroy them in under 30 seconds if needed." "And the backup plans?" Hesitated. "Project Phoenix is ready. If the alien ship proves to be the first wave of an invasion fleet, we can activate the planetary shield within minutes. If the shield fails, we have nuclear devices positioned in orbit that can be deployed against any approaching fleet." Took a deep breath. For 3 generations, humanity had been preparing for this day. After discovering strange energy readings at the edge of the solar system decades ago, the world's governments had finally agreed on something. Whatever was out there, humanity would be ready for it. The United Nations Space Command had been born from that agreement. The greatest project in human history. Every nation had contributed. Every scientist, every engineer, every soldier who could help had been recruited. They had built ships in secret. They had developed weapons that could crack moons. They had trained soldiers to fight in the vacuum of space. And they had waited. "The alien ship is responding to our signal," an officer announced. They are opening a channel. Straightened her uniform, put it on screen. The main display flickered, and then an alien face appeared. It was covered in silver scales that caught the light. Its eyes were large and yellow, filled with an emotion that recognized immediately: fear. "I am commander of the Conclave Survey Vessel Whisper of Harmony," the alien said. Its voice was translated by computers working faster than any human could think. "We come in peace. We mean you no harm." Did not blink. "I am Admiral of the United Nations Space Command. You have entered human space without permission. Explain why you are here." The alien seemed surprised by her directness. "We are explorers, scientists. We were surveying this region of the galaxy when we detected your world. We hope to make peaceful contact with your species. And yet your ship went to alert status the moment you identified our planet. You tried to flee before we even spoke to you. That does not sound like peaceful exploration to me." Scales seemed to pale. "Admiral, I must be honest with you. Our records contain information about your species from long ago, ancient history that most of the Conclave has forgotten. When our computer recognized your world, it issued warnings." "What kind of warnings?" The alien paused, could see her struggling with the decision to speak or stay silent. Finally, she spoke. 10,000 years ago, your ancestors were known to the elder races of this galaxy. There was a war, a terrible war that destroyed civilizations that had existed for millions of years. Your people were at the center of it. After the war, the survivors tried to trap your species on Earth. They believed you were too dangerous to be allowed among the stars. Felt something cold settle in her stomach. She had always known that humanity was unique. She had always believed that their capacity for violence was unmatched. But to hear it confirmed by an alien species, to learn that ancient civilizations had feared humans so much that they had tried to imprison them. "And now," asked, "what does the Conclave intend to do now that you have found us again?" Did not answer immediately. That hesitation told everything she needed to know. "General," said quietly, not taking her eyes off the alien commander. "Begin mobilization, full alert, prepare all vessels for combat deployment." "Admiral," said quickly, "please understand that I am only a survey commander. I do not speak for the Conclave. I cannot tell you what they will decide, but I urge you to consider peace. Surely we can find a way to coexist without more bloodshed." Leaned forward. "You speak of peace after telling me that your ancestors tried to imprison my entire species. You speak of coexistence after admitting that your records call us dangerous. Let me be clear, Commander. Humanity did not survive 10,000 years of fighting each other just to be threatened by species from beyond the stars. If the Conclave wants peace, they will have to earn it. If they want war," she paused, "then they should remember what happened to the last civilizations that tried to destroy us." She cut the channel. The screen went dark. And deep in her heart knew that the war was only beginning. The message from the Whisper of Harmony spread across the galaxy like fire spreading through dry grass. Within hours, every species in the Conclave knew the truth. Earth was not empty. Humanity had survived. The burning ones were awake. On the capital world of the Conclave, a planet called Harmony Prime, the High Council gathered in their ancient chamber. Representatives from 37 species sat in a great circle, their forms as different as the worlds they came from. Some had scales, some had fur, some were made of energy or crystal or living metal, but all of them shared the same expression: fear. High Chancellor stood at the center of the circle. He was old, even by the standards of his long-lived species. His body was a mass of tentacles that floated in a tank of nutrient fluid. His mind was one of the sharpest in the galaxy. And right now, that mind was racing to find a solution to an impossible problem. "You have all received the report from Commander," he said. His voice was transmitted through speakers that made it sound like rumbling thunder. "The humans have survived their imprisonment. They have advanced. They have detected our survey vessel and responded with what can only be described as a military warning. A representative from the species rose from his seat. He was tall and thin, with skin like polished stone. The solution is obvious. We must destroy them before they become a threat. Send our fleets to the Sol system. Reduce their planet to ash. End this nightmare before it begins again. Several other representatives voiced their agreement. The chamber filled with the sound of different species speaking in different tongues, all calling for the same thing: war. But not everyone agreed. "Wait," said a quiet voice. It came from Ambassador of a young species that had joined the conclave only 1,000 years ago. Her body was small and covered in soft white fur. Her eyes were large and black, like pools of ink. "I have read the ancient archives that were unsealed today. I have seen what happened 10,000 years ago, and I have questions." The chamber fell silent, turned his tank toward her. "Speak, Ambassador." Stood, her voice was soft but steady. "The archives show that the elder races attacked humanity first. They sent warships to a species that had barely developed space travel. They tried to contain humans before humans had done anything wrong. Is it not possible that we created the very monster we feared?" The representative made a sound of disgust. "You defend the burning ones. You speak for creatures that destroyed civilizations." "I speak for truth," replied. "The archives are clear. The elder races struck first. Humanity fought back. Any species would have done the same. We cannot judge them for defending themselves." "They did more than defend themselves," another representative shouted. "They hunted our ancestors to extinction. They burned worlds. They showed no mercy." "After being attacked," insisted, "after being pushed to the edge of destruction, what would your species have done in their place? What would any of us have done?" The chamber erupted in argument. Species that had been allies for thousands of years now shouted at each other across the great circle. Some demanded immediate war. Others called for caution. A few, very few, suggested that perhaps the conclave should attempt peaceful contact. High Chancellor raised his tentacles, and the chamber fell silent. "We will vote," he said. "The question is simple. Do we attempt to destroy humanity, or do we attempt to communicate with them?" The vote was close, closer than anyone expected, but in the end fear won. Protocol was authorized. Within days, the largest fleet in conclave history began to gather. Ships came from every corner of the galaxy, battleships the size of mountains, carriers filled with thousands of fighter craft, weapons platforms capable of cracking planets in half. All of them converged on a single point: the Sol system. But the fleet did not move with a single purpose. Among the crews of those mighty vessels, doubt was spreading. The younger species, those who had never seen the ancient archives until now, were asking questions that their commanders could not answer. "Why are we attacking a species that has done nothing to us?" asked a young pilot on a carrier ship. "Orders," his commander replied, but the answer did not satisfy either of them. On another ship, a scientist studied the intercepted transmissions from Earth. She watched human children playing in parks. She saw humans building and creating and laughing. She observed their art, their music, their stories, and she wondered if the conclave was about to make a terrible mistake. "They are not monsters," she whispered to herself. "They are people, violent, yes, dangerous, certainly, but still people." Ambassador watched the fleet assemble from her ship at the edge of the formation. She had voted against war. She had lost, but she was not ready to give up. She opened a secret channel to the Whisper of Harmony, which was still holding position near Earth. Commander answered immediately. "The fleet is coming," said. "They intend to destroy your planet. I am sorry. I tried to stop them." On her screen, she saw silver scales had gone almost white with stress. "I know. We have detected the fleet gathering. Ambassador, please tell me there is hope. Tell me there is something we can do." Wished she could offer comfort. She wished she could say that everything would be fine. but she respected the truth too much to lie. "I do not know," she admitted, "but I believe that this war is wrong. I believe that attacking humanity will not save us. It will only prove that the elder races were right to fear them. It will turn a possible enemy into a certain one." "Then what do we do?" Looked at the fleet forming in the distance. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, the combined might of 37 species, all aimed at one small blue world. "We hope," she said quietly, "we hope that humanity is not what the archives say they are. We hope that they have changed. We hope that when our fleet arrives, they will find some way to end this without destroying everything." She paused. "And we prepare for the possibility that hope is not enough." Far away, in the bunker beneath the Swiss mountains, Admiral received a report from her intelligence officers. They had detected massive energy signatures gathering at the edge of their sensors. Ships, thousands of them, coming straight for Earth. She read the report twice, then she set it down and looked at General. "They are coming," she said. "How long until they arrive?" 3 weeks at their current speed." Nodded. 3 weeks. It was not much time, but it would have to be enough. "Begin full mobilization," she ordered. "Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. This is what we have been preparing for. This is why the Space Command exists. The galaxy thinks they can destroy us." She stood up. "Let us show them why they failed the first time." The war was coming, and humanity was ready. The Conclave fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. 4,700 ships arranged in perfect formation. The greatest military force the galaxy had assembled in 10,000 years. Their commanders looked at the small blue planet in the distance and prepared for an easy victory. They expected to find a primitive species cowering on a single world. They expected fear. They expected surrender. They found something else entirely. Admiral of the species commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Judgment of Ages. He was a warrior who had never lost a battle in 300 years of service. He looked at the tactical display showing the Sol system and felt the first hint of doubt he had experienced in decades. "Reports," he ordered. His sensor officer's voice was shaking. "Admiral, we are detecting multiple hostile contacts, defense platforms in orbit around Earth, armed stations around their moon, weapons emplacements throughout the asteroid belt, and..." The officer paused. "And a fleet, Admiral, a human fleet, estimated 300 vessels moving to intercept." Stone-like face remained calm, but inside he was surprised. 300 vessels. The humans had built 300 warships in secret, hidden from a galaxy that thought they were trapped on a single planet. "Their numbers are meaningless," he said. "We outnumber them 15 to 1. Begin the attack." The Conclave fleet surged forward, weapons charged, fighters launched from carriers like swarms of angry insects. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Then the humans opened fire. The first volley came from orbital platforms around Earth. Projectiles made of solid metal, accelerated to a fraction of the speed of light, slammed into the lead ships of the Conclave fleet. Shields that had never been broken shattered like glass. Armor that could withstand nuclear explosions was punched through as if it were paper. 12 battleships died in the first 3 seconds. Admiral stared at his display in disbelief. Those projectiles were primitive, simple chunks of metal, nothing sophisticated, nothing elegant, just mass and velocity delivered with horrifying accuracy. "Return fire," he commanded. "All ships focus on those platforms." The Conclave fleet responded with energy weapons that could melt continents. Beams of light lanced across the void toward the orbital platforms. The platforms should have been vaporized. Instead, shields flickered to life around them. Shields that absorbed the energy, converted it, and fired it back at the attacking ships. More vessels died. More crews vanished in explosions that briefly the sun. And then the human fleet arrived. They came out of the asteroid belt like ghosts, using the rocks for cover until the last possible moment. Their ships were ugly, brutal. Every surface was covered with weapons. They did not fly in formation. They swarmed, each vessel moving independently, choosing its own targets, attacking from angles that the Conclave ships could not predict. Admiral stood on the bridge of the UNS Defiance, the flagship of humanity's secret fleet. Around her, officers called out targets and damage reports. The ship shook as weapons fired and impacts struck their shields. She felt alive, she felt ready. "Focus fire on their carriers," she ordered. "Take out their fighter support. Then we cut them apart piece by piece." The human fleet obeyed. They did not fight like the Conclave expected. They did not form lines and trade volleys. They got close. They got personal. Human Marines in powered armor launched from boarding torpedoes and crashed into enemy ships. They fought through corridors with weapons and bare hands. They captured vessels and turned them against their former allies. Admiral watched his fleet dying around him. In 2 hours he had lost half his ships. The humans had lost fewer than 50. Every tactic he tried, they countered. Every formation he created, they broke. They seemed to know exactly what he was going to do before he did it. "How," he whispered, "how is this possible?" His communications officer looked up from her station. "Admiral, we are being hailed by the human fleet." "Put it through." Admiral's face appeared on his screen. She was not smiling, she was not gloating. Her expression was calm, cold, professional. "Admiral," she said, "your fleet is broken, your ships are dying. You came here to destroy humanity and you have failed, but I am not going to destroy you, not today." Could not speak, he could not understand. Victory was in the human's grasp. Why would she not take it? "I want you to take your surviving ships," continued. "I want you to return to the Conclave, and I want you to deliver a message, not from me, from all of humanity, from every human being who has ever lived and died and hoped for something better." She took a deep breath. "We know what the elder races tried to do 10,000 years ago. We know what you tried to do today. We understand why you are afraid of us. We have given you many reasons to be afraid. Our history is written in blood. Our past is filled with violence and cruelty that we are not proud of. But that is not all we are. We are also the species that looks up at the stars and dreams of touching them. We are the species that creates art and music and stories that make us weep with joy. We are the species that loves our children and mourns our dead and hopes that tomorrow will be better than today. We do not want revenge. We do not want war. We want something simpler and harder. We want to be part of something greater than ourselves. We want trade. We want diplomacy. We want to learn from you and teach you in return. We want to explore the galaxy alongside you, not against you. But understand this clearly. Peace is a choice we make every single day. It is not weakness. It is not surrender. It is the hardest thing we can do. And if you ever threaten our world again, if you ever send another fleet to destroy us, we will remind you why your ancestors built a prison for us in the first place. Earth is not a prison. It never was. It was a crucible, and we are what emerged from the fire. The choice is yours, war or peace, death or life, choose wisely." She cut the channel. Admiral sat in silence for a long moment. His fleet was in ruins. His pride was shattered. Everything he believed about the universe had been proven wrong in a single day. But he was still alive. His crew was still alive. And the human admiral had given him a chance that he would never have given to her. "All ships," he said quietly, "retreat. We are returning to the Conclave." What remained of the fleet turned away from Earth. Behind them, the human ships held their position. They did not pursue. They did not fire. They simply watched as the Conclave fleet limped away into the darkness. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral allowed herself a small smile. "Communications," she said. "Open a channel to Ambassador of the, I believe we have a lot to discuss." The war was over. And humanity's place in the galaxy had just begun.